Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. This is Thanksgiving week, or at least it's going to be once this episode airs. And I have one more quote about Thanksgiving. Appreciation can change a day, even change a life. Your willingness to put it into words is all that is necessary. And one more. Thanksgiving, man, not a good day to be my pants. Can you relate?
Yes.
I didn't say who all those were from. The Feeling Gratitude was from William Arthur Ward. Margaret Cousins was the second one, and then the comedian Kevin James was the one that said that third one. He's funny.
He's hilarious.
Welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. My name's Carla Moore. This is Kathy Pollard with me, and we just like to talk to each other. That's my description of our podcast. We like to talk. We like to have discussions. We like to learn from each other, and all of you who are listening, we would love if we could really someday sit around a great big table and just have a nice long chat and a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a Diet Dr. Pepper, whatever you like. So we are here today, and we're going to have a more casual conversation than we normally do, where we figured it was Thanksgiving week. We're going to talk about some things that are hopefully practical and fun. So tell me what's been going on in your life since the last time we talked.
Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, I've been running across some recipes for updating Thanksgiving sides, and they look so good. I mean, just little tweaks, and like instead of sweet potato casserole, there was one that was a bunch of sliced sweet potatoes in a baking pan, and it was kind of a sweet heat topping to it. It had honey and crushed red pepper, butter, I forget what all, just drizzled on the top and baked, and it looked so good. And they had a couple of, I've seen a couple of other sides that I want to try, but Thanksgiving's one of those holidays we can't really mess with because everybody wants the traditional, but this is what we always have for Thanksgiving. Yeah. So I have to try those sides on another day.
Are all of your boys more traditional like that? They want things to be like we've always done them? All your boys like that?
Well, maybe not. No, mostly Carl.
You have to do it on the day. You have to do it a certain way, a certain time, certain dishes.
Yes. And if the others are like that, they haven't voiced it really. So, yeah. But Carl, he's the baby of the family. He's going to voice it.
Yeah. Those babies.
Those babies.
Well, are you hosting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Carl and Emily, funny that we bring this up, are actually going to be in Georgia because it's her Thanksgiving with her family this year. Yeah. So maybe I could do those other things.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've had this talk.
We can just end it right here. Right. It's been helpful to you, right?
I have some planning to do.
Well, how many will you have?
Not all that many. So Dale and Janelle's family is also having Thanksgiving, and her mom's having a bunch of her relatives in that she doesn't usually get to see. So they're coming by here, but they won't be here for the whole day. I think they might just come in later for dessert or something. I'm not really sure. But Gary and Chelsea will be here, Mom and Ray, Bud and Christy. Those are the for sure's. So yeah, pretty small.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, Neil's family and brother obviously probably won't be able to come. So.
Yeah. Do you have an update on Brent?
They've already moved him to that long-term care facility, and right now he's just asking everybody to pray that he'll eventually be able to get that vent removed. That's the most important thing, is that he can get that removed so he can breathe on his own.
I hope he's more comfortable than he was last week. I know that he looked miserable.
Yeah. So thanks for asking, and thanks everybody that's been praying. That's very encouraging for all of us.
Always. Yep.
So you asked what we've been doing. I went to Chicago. Not really Chicago, but I went to a suburb of Chicago. I think it's called Downers Grove, which sounds a little depressing for a name of a place, but it was a readers conference. So if any of our
everybody just sit around and read.
A
very quiet auditorium.
I wish, but it was there were 200 attendees. 50 of them were well-known authors, which means, and they had them mingling with us the whole time. So it wasn't like up here, here's the tables where the authors sit. At every single session, we had at least 2 authors at our table, and they would have them mix, like get up and go sit at a different table for different sessions. And I went with Kelly Nix and Alicia Pennington. So we had a fun little road trip from here up there. And we got book swag. So they gave out all these big tote bags. Mine had 4 free books in them.
I was
Plus,
going to ask you what was all in your swag bag.
stickers and chocolate and bookmarkers, just all like all the authors put together these cute little baggies with fun stuff in them. And then they had these panels of the authors up there where we learned, like they would be asking them questions and we'd learn about their personal lives or their writing life. Or one of the panels, they had the authors had to assume one of the personalities of one of their characters from a book. So one of them writes mysteries, and she assumed the personality of one of her bad guys.
Oh, cool.
So, which means that when they were asked all the questions, they had to answer them from the perspective of that character. So that was fun. But we just had a great time. We had so much fun.
So, like, what authors were there? Are there people that I would know?
I don't know. Probably not. Do you read historical fiction?
Sometimes.
It was authors from Baker Publishing, Two Dogs Publishing. There's like 4 or 5 different publishing houses that sponsored the event. Kimberly Woodhouse.
Okay.
I got her autograph because I'm currently reading her book, one of her books, so I took it with me. Becky Wade, okay. Lynn Austin.
Oh yeah. Did you get to sit with her?
Lynn Austin? No. There's another one that has been writing forever. I can't think of all their names. Anyway, there are 50 of them.
Well, how fun.
Yeah.
How far is it from there for y'all to drive?
It's about 6.5 or 7 hours.
Yeah. I just didn't realize Kentucky was that close to Chicago.
Isn't that weird?
It is, because, Texas, it takes you 10 hours just to get out of the state. So anywhere you go, another state is a long way away, at least where we live in the middle of Texas. So
yeah, we're closer to some of those places than we are Gulf Shores, which seems so bizarre to me because we're in the South and I think of those states as being so much further north, but they're really just in our backyard.
Yeah. Did you get any Chicago deep dish pizza?
No, we did order pizza in our last night there, but it wasn't deep dish. We just got little personal size pizzas.
Pizza INN, or you ordered it in?
We ordered it in.
Okay, because I like Pizza Inn. That's a little franchise, so you don't see it much anymore.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, Pizza Inn. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, I bought a mug that says I love stories, and it has a scripture on the back. And I bought a t-shirt. Pleasant words are like honeycomb verse on it. I also bought a book, and then I won a book. They were doing door prizes right and left the whole weekend. Fun. So I won a book also. So
that sounds like time well spent.
It was great. Good. What'd you do?
Well, nothing. I did. I went one day, went Friday. John and I both went to San Antonio, and I helped Courtney with the girls, and Micah and John went and worked on a job that Mike was trying to finish. And so I had fun with Courtney and the girls. She was doing a little holiday decorating and just kind of moving around a little bit after the baby came. And it was fun. I got to sit outside with that snuggly, sweet little baby, and, those little stretches and coos. Well, not coos, but those little newborn noises that they make are so sweet.
So how old is she now?
She will be 2 weeks old in a couple days. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're getting ready. Tomorrow we'll head to Fort Worth, and Alyssa's supposed to be induced on Thursday. We have kept saying unless he comes on his own, but she's convinced that nothing's going to coax him out except some induction drugs. So he should be here on Thursday, and we'll stay there a few days and help them. So, but I did want to tell you about, I haven't told you this yet. Emmy, our little 7-year-old that loves to ride horses. She is now officially a Katie cowgirl.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a pretty big group of girls, and they're mostly much older than her. I want to say high school age. She's 7. She's the youngest ever of the Katie cowgirls. And so her tryout was last night, and Erin, she's so good to send pictures and videos of things that we don't get to see, but she had to carry a flagpole, which, can if you're not pretty steady on your horse and you don't have control of the horse, it can alarm them, startle them. I don't know enough about horses to speak intelligently, so I'm going to pretend like I do. But she had to hold the flag, and she had to trot, she had to lope, she had to, you do I think they call it a crossover, where the horses cross between each other, and she had to follow and make sure that the horse was leading and following behind the horse in front of her. And she did really well. Got to see the video, so that was fun. I mean, it's just still so bizarre to me to see my tiny little 7-year-old granddaughter on a great big old horse, but she loves it. She loves all things horses. So that I did get to see that on video last night.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, so is the flag propped up on something and she's just kind of holding it steady, or is she literally holding the weight of that flag while
I
she's
think, and I may be wrong about this, and Erin can let me know, but I think it's kind of wedged into, it's not in a hold like a big tall holder. It might be wedged at the bottom, and she has to control to keep it from flying back and forth.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty hard to do.
Yeah, I would think so, especially if you're not very big, and she's not. So
Does it make you nervous? Or you
it
just
has. It
Yeah.
has, especially because she's fallen and she got right back up and got back on the horse. But it's just a neat thing to watch her do, and I'm looking forward to, since we'll be home in the spring, we'll be able to watch her a little bit more. I think they get to do a lot of things with the Katie rodeo. You know, it's not
so cool.
Yeah, they have uniforms, you know, sparkles and cowboy hats and things. So it's a good activity for her to be involved in, and just gives her some good activities to do. So proud of her.
She's going to have some good stories as an adult.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, we played with mops outside in the yard when I was a kid. We did our own little.
Was it a broomstick or was it a horse?
It was like just a part of our routine, you know, when you twirl it and come up with your little routine performances. My sister and I would do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Did y'all have batons?
No.
I never could figure out how those girls could like use their like twirl them between their fingers. I could do the hand motion to make it look like you were twirling, but that's, you know, you couldn't go fast. But I'd watch girls that just like twirl. Do they even twirl anymore?
I don't know.
I haven't been to a high school football game in forever, so I don't know either.
Oh, surely they do.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. I don't know.
Somebody
We're out of
let us know.
touch. We're out of touch. It's happened.
Isn't that a song from the
We're
80s?
out of touch.
It is a song from the 80s, which means we are out of touch. Oh, you got anything else going on?
No. Mm-mm.
All right. Well, we will just launch into, it's not really even a topic today, but we're going to just have some hopefully practical and probably some fun stuff too. Just, I thought it would be kind of fun for us to ask each other, give each other scenarios. What would you do in this scenario? And we don't know. You know, Kathy may have taken it a completely different direction than I did. We'll find out here in a few minutes. I can always tell by the look on your face when you're like, that's not what I thought you meant by this topic. So scratch all of those questions I wrote down. But I mean, some of them for me have been situations that I have found myself in prior years, or in some more recent years, that sometimes you just want to talk with somebody about what would have you have done in this situation. And so, for example, this is a somewhat serious one. Okay. And it's, nobody out there needs to wonder if I'm talking about them, because I'm not. This was from probably 25 years ago. And I don't even remember this kid's name, but it was a friend of our boys. And anytime he was from out of town too, he would come visit his friend, and then those friends would come over.
Okay.
And anytime this kid would come, it would disrupt our whole family. Like he would like needle one of the boys and kind of start little flames and fires between them and make them kind of bicker and argue. And he would poke fun at you know, Micah. Micah was much younger than this group of boys. And usually it would go over his head and he didn't understand it. But, it aggravated me. And it just set me on edge. Anytime there's something like that going on in your house
Yeah.
and things are not at rest and there's somebody that's making it worse. And I struggled with that. I didn't really know exactly how to handle it because I wanted them to be with their friends, but I didn't really care much for this friend in particular. And he wasn't even really a friend of our boys. He just was a friend of a friend. But it was like a domino effect. This kid would influence his friend, who would in turn say and do things to my boys, and that they in turn would say and do things to each other and to me. And it was just like my house turned into a different place. And so I'm curious, did you have any
Wow.
situations like that, and what you would do in that case?
Well, it's funny how even as adults, I'll come back around to your scenario there, but even as adults, doesn't that still happen? Like you can bring somebody into the mix that doesn't seem to bring out the best in either you or somebody you love, that for whatever reason, this certain personality brings out the worst in somebody else. And it's just not a very fun situation. But also, and I'm not thinking of anybody in particular.
It's never happened to you, right?
That's never happened to me, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that necessarily has happened, but I think if it was temporary, this guy, he was just visiting occasionally, right? When he would come into town, then it would be a great opportunity to just teach your kids, in a situation like this, we're going to go out of our way to act the way we're supposed to so we can be a good influence on him. But I feel pretty certain that if it was a regular thing and he was in my house a lot, I'd be having conversations with him.
With the kid or with your boys?
Yes.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how would you handle talking to the kid?
I would just say, we're so happy to have you here, but in this house, we have rules and expectations. And this is how we treat each other.
Yeah. Did you ever have to have any of those conversations?
Probably.
I just don't know that I don't know that I would have had the guts to say something like that, which is bad because it was affecting my family. And I would probably just go to John and say, this kid, can you do something about it? Because he was always better at handling situations like that than me.
Yeah. I mean, we've had kids in the house before that were in significant ways disruptive, just messy or, wreaking havoc on whatever space they were in and stuff like that. And to me, that's not really worth dealing with. You just kind of clean up after it afterwards or. And there were situations when I was growing up, that it seemed like I would have certain people that after I spent time with them, my parents would joke about needing to detox me afterwards.
It's funny. That's the word that I think Jordan uses after the grandkids have been with us for a while.
Yeah.
Grandparent detox.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I feel like friends have so much influence and it just really does affect your whole home when it's not a good one. But on the other hand, you want to open your home. That was just a conflict for me in my mind because I wanted our home to be a place where they could invite their friends to come in and they were comfortable and I knew where they were, they weren't somewhere else and I didn't know what was going on. But yet sometimes the feelings that came along with that were not great either. So, there's that saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, which I think is applicable to adults and not just kids. But
and the one about you become like, how many is it? The 5 or 7 people you spend
the most time with.
So were you wondering if you should have said, he's not welcome in this home, or I don't want you to have him over, or were you wondering if you should have handled it that way?
Yeah, kind of. And, like I said, it wasn't one of those situations where he wasn't around a whole lot because he actually came from another state to visit this friend of his. But it's just
and you probably handled it the right way since that's the case.
Well, we talked about it with the boys after he left. We would say, did you feel, how do y'all how do y'all feel about that whole time that he was here? Did it make you happy? Did it make you anxious? And, I think probably some of it went over their head, but I just feel like people that come into your home that disrupt the feel and the flavor of your home, I don't know, because I feel like, again, you want to be welcoming and you want to be the kind of home that people would come to because of the light that shines, but yet
Mhm.
it's so important to have good influences around your kids. And so
Mhm.
how do you help your kids choose good friends? There's a
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah. Well, I heard somebody say, and I can't remember who it was, but years ago, when they're little, you have to help them do that. There are some decisions. Oh, I wish I could remember who to credit that to, but there are some decisions they get to make for themselves as they get older and they've learned discernment. But when they're growing and young and they can't, you have to help them make good decisions, and with who their friends are going to be, when they're going to go to bed, just like things like
Yeah.
that. They don't really know what's best for them at that point, and you have to help them with it. But once you lay that foundation, then it gets easier for them to make those good decisions as they get older.
Yeah.
I always thought that was very wise and practical. I wish I could
Hmm.
remember who said it.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to do. And I
Hmm.
know I'm just thinking back on when the boys were younger. There were some that they had all of the new toys. They had, and I say toys, their families had boats and they had jet skis and it was fun.
Hmm.
And there were several that I felt completely comfortable with the boys going and doing those things with them. But there were others that I felt like it was kind of they'd come home and go, "Oof, there's nothing to do here." Like almost
Yeah.
like they had to be these friends had to be going and doing and being entertained 24/7, and they couldn't just be still and read a book or play with
Hmm.
army men or just do those things that take imagination. It was like entertainment all the time.
Hmm.
So I don't know, maybe I'm being a little, or maybe I was being overly critical about stuff like that, or maybe overly worried about it, and I shouldn't have been, but it was just one of those things that crossed my mind.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We were definitely one of those more quieter families. We didn't go do all the cool things.
Yeah, except for the whole picnic table floating in the river kind of thing.
Listen. We did take them out of the country. I think that counts for something.
Yeah, on mission trips. That was great. That was great.
All right. So, remember how you kind of mentioned we may have gone at this differently?
So I need to give you a little better description next time. This ought to be
Well,
good.
mine aren't really like practical scenarios, and they're just what would you do if? So, mine will be the off the wall, helpful to no one questions.
Great.
That's
Okay.
just all right. So, if your husband said yes to everything for a day, what would you ask for?
Like if I could have 100 questions and all the answers would be yes.
I gave you the question. You can answer it however you like. Quit
Okay.
stalling.
Read it again.
If your husband said yes to everything for a day, what would you ask for?
Um, Again, I don't know that he could take the day off,
Mm.
leave his phone and computer behind, and we could go, I don't know, somewhere close by and just walk around the little streets of a little town and have lunch. And I don't know, because I mean, there's
We
not
are
a whole lot of,
definitely kindred spirits.
yeah. I mean, I guess there would probably be a lot that would say spending the money, but I don't really, I mean, it might be fun to go do some little something, but I'm not all that into going and blowing a bunch of money. And um that would probably be it. Just to put the work aside for the day. And you know, Neil and John both are, we affectionately say they are workaholics because they both love what they do. So I'm glad that they love what they do, but sometimes you just need them to set it down, right?
probably should have asked you a different question, because does John ever say no to you anyway?
Duh. That's a dumb question. Yeah. In fact, he said something to me. I told him I made a suggestion about something that we need to do this week. And he said, yeah, okay. And I was like, what did you just say? And he said, you're the boss. And I said,
Can I have that in writing?
no, that is not the truth. In fact, I think I said that was a lot easier than I expected it to be. Okay, so if Neil said yes to you all day long, what would you do?
Same. I'm not kidding. Exact same thing. That's why I said we are kindred spirits. I would say, let's just walk away from everything. Just all the communications, and like you say, leave the phone, leave the laptop, just a quiet day, me and you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. I can get on board with that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we did go in different directions.
Sorry.
No, it's like two different episodes in one.
That's
Two
right.
in one.
2 for the price of 1.
Okay. Let me decide which one I want to do next. So this is something that I have run into wherever we've gone, and I'm not talking about just in the locations where we have been members, but in congregations everywhere. You see this happening, and it's cliques. There are just, I even hate to use that word cliques because then it has such a negative connotation, but there are, wherever you go, there are going to be groups of friends that are comfortable with each other because they're together a lot, and they are just friends. But there's inevitably going to be some who feel a little bit left out because they're not part of that group of friends that does things. And I think there's a lot of different reasons why. Maybe this group of friends doesn't work outside the home, and so they have time during the day to do things together, and another person has a full-time job or part-time job that keeps them from being able to do that kind of thing. Maybe these women or men are married and this one is single. Maybe, there's just all kinds of different types of things that might be different in each other's lives. So I have had people come to me and say, what do I do about this? What I'm feeling left out, and it makes me, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it makes me upset when I see that they're doing things and I'm not invited. So what do I do about that? So what would you do if someone came to you and said that they are feeling separated or divided or uninvited, or whatever word we're going to use when it comes to groups of friends that you're not involved in?
I'm probably not the right person to ask this question.
Or are you in the middle of a clique?
No, I hope not. No, to me, that's a horrible scenario, because if you feel that way and then you talk to somebody about it, you have to wonder, what follows that up is, well, now they're only inviting me because I said something.
Yeah.
It's like one of those no-win kind of situations. And I'm probably not as compassionate or understanding as I should be about that, because I kind of feel like if you're feeling left out, you be the one to do things. You be the one to start something. You be the one to have people into your home. Try harder and go talk to people, because I guarantee you, not every single person in that congregation is a member of a clique. And I also think that this is just the other perspective. This is just some thoughts. I think what you said is true. I don't think that people that necessarily find themselves in cliques are trying to be clique-ish. Like you say, they enjoy doing things together. They have things in common. They're probably in the same stage of life, if you will. And to me, it's only intentionally cliquey if they're unwilling to talk to somebody else or let somebody else in.
Right.
And how often does that really happen in the Lord's church? High school, junior high, sure.
Yeah.
But how many times, if you feeling on the outside of things, have gone up to somebody and said, hey, can I join you guys? Or do you mind if I jump in next time? Or and then they go, no. And sometimes it's easier just to sort of play the victim or get our feelings hurt, and instead of saying, well, I'm feeling this way, maybe there are people feeling this way too, what can I do? Maybe I'll start going around and talking to more people. Maybe I'll open up my home once a month and get a bunch of people to come over and hang out, or you know take better efforts to those people that are in that perceived clique. If you want to be a part of that, take more proactive steps to talk to them and get to know them. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel a lot the same way. And I think if you look around, say you just, from your pew and you look around and here's a group of girls talking, women, are there not any other women in
Mm-hmm.
that whole building, or are they all in the middle of that and you're the only one over here? So I think sometimes we have to open our eyes and look around and see who else is maybe on the fringe, and be the
Mm-hmm.
one to go and make a friend with somebody else that might also be feeling like you're feeling. My experience has been, I hesitate to say that sometimes my experience has been, because I know my experience is not always the same
Mm-hmm.
as everyone else. And I think for you and me too, that it's probably a little easier in some ways, because when you're the preacher's wife or you are part of the ministry staff, people know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody knows who everybody in the congregation is, especially if it's someone who's shy or doesn't talk a lot, or for whatever reason, maybe they're new. So I realize that my experience is probably different than a lot of people's, but I still think the same is true for everyone, that you can be the one to go first and lead the way, that
Yeah.
Romans 12, be the one to make a friend, look for the ones who also need friends.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never been involved in a situation where there's a group of friends that I wasn't also welcome in that group of friends. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe they went and did something and didn't invite me, but have I ever gone and done something and didn't invite them? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it works both ways. I think that, as long as we're both making the effort and not just getting our feelings hurt and not being offended and not assuming that they don't want you to be a part. And that's a big thing right there. It's just assuming because they did something without you that they didn't want you to be there. It's just, but on the other hand, for those who are in those circles of friends, it would be good to think about opening, making sure that you're being open to other people, and maybe spending your time together away from the church building. And then when you're there, being open to talking to other people. And, it's just, I think perception is going to be different, because wherever you are, if
Mm-hmm.
if someone accuses you of being part of a clique and you have been one who has gone and talked to many different people on Sunday and they didn't see that, it makes you kind of mad too. So it's like
Yeah.
the devil is right there in the middle of that,
Mm-hmm.
always trying to divide. So whether you're the one that is the perceived offender or the perceived offendee, is that a word?
Sure.
I think that everybody can do a little bit better probably in trying to make people feel welcome.
Yeah, I just think we should give people the benefit of the doubt, and when those feelings rear their head and we're starting to feel on the outside of things or left out, some of that could be insecurity on our part,
Hmm.
but I dare say, if you're looking at a group of women who always hang out with each other after church, they're talking in the aisle or whatever, um, it's not like there's a group of women that are all just all of that and they're extroverts and this is the
Hmm.
in crowd. It just doesn't work that way. It
Yeah.
really doesn't. I mean, that is so junior high.
Hmm.
But in real life, those are people just like you, and they're probably more introverted. They probably deal with insecurity sometimes too. They're talking to people that they're comfortable with,
Yeah.
and give them the benefit of the doubt. You wanna go over there and talk to them, just go over there and talk to them.
Hmm.
Go stand in their circle.
Just tap them on the shoulder and say,
Yeah,
excuse me.
be interesting, be
Yeah.
interested in other people. And
Yeah. And that's the
go,
main thing right there. Be interested in other people.
yeah, like you said, go around and talk to everybody. And if
Mm.
you're feeling lonely and on the outside of things and you don't have any friends, make a friend, and
Yeah.
that begins very easily with being a part of all the activities that are planned.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're not taking advantage of those things,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's lots of things that can be
Yeah.
done, without assuming the worst about other people.
Yeah. There's always two sides to every story, right?
Hmm.
My dad used to say that. And then he'd say, there's always two sides to a pancake, no matter how thin you cook it. Which when I was young, I was like, I don't understand what that means. But
I don't
yeah,
understand pancake metaphors.
you know, I just like to eat them. So
Well, as a preacher's
this,
wife, you know, for in our situation that you mentioned,
Mhm.
of course we have friends that we're closer to than others. And we just know that we need to try when we're there, say if we're talking about a church scenario, worship scenario, that we use that time to talk to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And, we try to be very mindful, of course. We don't just talk to the same people every time or just hang
Mhm.
out with the same people every time, and maybe save some of that for outside the building,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
think that can be same for everybody though.
Mhm.
Maybe branch out a little bit, like you were saying, step out of your comfort zone, branch out a little bit, talk to more people,
Mhm.
be warm with more people.
Yeah. And this is coming from you and me, who both have admitted that sometimes we like to duck out early.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we've felt, I think you and I have both felt this way. I know I have. I mean, I have had situations where I felt not, I don't know that I've ever felt like unwelcome, because I just don't think that I don't think I've ever been anywhere like that, like you said, in the
Hmm.
Lord's church, where people would
Hmm.
literally make me feel unwelcome.
I have definitely had moments where I felt awkward,
Sure.
like I'm standing there going, oh, I don't
Who
know.
do I
Should
talk to?
yeah, but that's on me. That is so,
Hmm.
it's not because everybody else is doing their own thing and excluding me.
Yeah.
I get it. Sometimes it's not a problem and sometimes it is. And it's all on me. And I'm just like,
Yeah. And sometimes, you and I both know, because you know things that are going on that other people don't always know about. They're providing comfort for one another. Maybe there's something tragic that went on in their lives, and they are gathering around one another for that comfort.
Mhm,
There's a lot of different reasons. So just those expectations, I say that all the time. Premeditated resentments. I read something this week that said expectations bring disappointment, which is almost a clearer way of saying that. Because if you expect you're going to walk in and everyone's just going to open their arms to you and ask you, how are you doing? What did you do this week? What are your kids doing? And you're not the one that's doing that to begin with,
mhm,
that's the wrong expectation. So
mhm, mhm.
anyway,
Well,
let's,
think about it with our children. When our sons were growing up, I wanted them to have tight friends
yeah.
in the Lord's church, as many as would have them.
Mhm.
And I wanted them to have those close relationships. Of course, I didn't want them to exclude other people, and I wanted them to be welcome and kind to everybody that was around them. But I was glad for them to have close relationships with fellow Christians. And,
Mhm.
it's not a bad thing to have close friends
Yeah,
in your church family. It's not a bad thing. It is a
not at
bad
all.
thing to be exclusive
Mhm.
and to not let other people in. But how many people actually are that way?
Yeah.
I think to sum it all up, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, here's a tag along question. I know it's your turn, but a tag along. Did you ever do anything to, how do I say this, to encourage or to not manufacture, that's not the right word, to make a mentor for your boys? Like, were you able to, and I'm asking this because I did with ours. We had older young men, and some were even older men, who were
Mhm.
mentors for our boys. And I think that was such a valuable thing for them. Were you ever able to
Mhm.
do something like that, or did that just naturally happen?
It naturally happened. I can list out some wonderful people in their lives, young and old, that
Hmm.
mentored them, and we didn't seek it out. It just, I'm sure we prayed about it, but it
Yeah.
it just happened. The only
Yeah.
thing we did is there were times when we would say to the boys, okay, this week after worship, go talk to three people don't usually talk to before you go play. or
Mhm.
go talk to 3 older people before you go play, or 3
I would have
elders
liked to have
before
seen how they did that.
I'm sure it was, hey, good to see you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah, we're out of here.
Hmm.
But no, we didn't. That's a good idea though.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we maybe when I say make it happen, I mean, make them have opportunities to be together with these people. But, it's like you can't force a best friendship. Like you can't
Mhm.
just say, I want to be best friends with you. I don't think you can force a mentor because there has to be a relationship, there has to be experience, there has to be respect
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. And so that happens over time. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think those were very important with growing up years or mentors.
Mhm. Yep. All right.
Okay.
So my next unhelpful question: if you had the ability to change one thing about your life, what would you change and why?
Well, I would go back and not do something that I did, but without going into all those details. Um, Something that was dumb and wrong and stupid and had all kinds of consequences, and which led to um, me trying to hide it, and then that led to more difficult relationships in different ways. I can just speak in cloudy sentences, right? I would go back and not do that. And I hesitate to even, I don't know how to say it without it coming out wrong, but I think that it was such a valuable experience on the other hand, because once I did come to have the courage to make it right, it really, really showed me the grace of God and forgiveness, and how he's always willing to forgive me. And so I guess I would never want to sin. So I couldn't
Mhm.
say that I'm glad that I did. I don't at
Mhm.
all. Good things come from, like we talked about a week or two ago, brokenness, but
Yeah,
I would
it
go
broke
back and
you.
not do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it really did. It really
Mhm.
did. Change my life.
Yeah, good
About
answer.
you?
Yeah, same.
I should have said at the beginning, it cannot be an answer like same.
But if it's true,
Mhm, okay. All right.
all
Well, that was
right, you're
quick.
up.
Okay, my turn again. All right. So what do you do if um okay, what do you do if you accidentally send a text to the wrong person, and it's something 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 that you wish that they hadn't seen?
The worst.
You you have that
My,
stomach twisty
I
feeling?
know, it's like my head is like tingling just thinking about it.
Mhm.
What do you
I mean, you
do?
told us all about the one where Neil printed
Neil
out all
printed
of those.
off our
Yeah.
whole text history,
Hmm.
and one of our deacons found it. Yes, that happened.
But there was nothing bad in there. But say there is
Something
something
bad.
not bad, like wrong, but embarrassing.
Yeah.
How do you handle it? And you send it to that person.
I mean, what can you do except follow up with, oops?
Just oops.
Well, it all depends what it is.
Oops, I didn't mean to send that insult to you.
Oh, ugh, that's
Yeah.
even worse. Okay. Well,
Or
obviously,
maybe not an
apologize.
insult, but a something that
I
you just
mean,
wouldn't say to their face.
you can apologize, but you're totally busted, and then they're going to know that you talk about them behind their back.
Hmm.
That's a really bad scenario.
Yeah, it is.
I
So
will say,
teach us, what would you
one
do?
time, I would eat some humble pie and hopefully learn from that lesson.
But how do you eat humble pie? Like go to them and
Yeah, you just have to, I mean, you just have to go apologize and say I was completely wrong to talk about you. And
yeah.
now I'm busted and this is awkward. Can we still be friends?
The moral of the story is
Don't
don't.
do it. Don't do it. But anyway, we had some friends a few years ago that we had a group text going between the couples.
Hmm.
And one of them was replying to a question about intimacy
Uh-oh.
to her husband. And he replies in all caps, "You sent that in a group text."
Like on a scale from 1 to 10, how embarrassing was it?
Well, it was one of those, I'm really not in the mood
Oh,
kind of answers.
oh boy.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we were all like, ah!
Yeah.
We're just gonna pretend we didn't see that. No
You
worries.
can't unsee that.
You
You
can't
can't
unsee that.
unremember that.
You can, and technically you can unsend things if you're fast, right?
Yeah. We've probably
Uh,
all had that feeling in the pit of our stomachs where you sent something, and when you look back at that thread to who you thought you sent it to and it's not there, and then you feel, I mean, so why do we do that? Why do we ever say something? I mean, obviously there are things we're going to say to our husbands that we don't want anyone else to see,
mhm.
because whether it's one of those kind of things that we're, being playful about or whatever in a text, or we have been hurt by something and we're, venting, whatever.
Mhm.
But we really just think twice and think again before we say anything bad about anybody
Well,
anyway.
if we'll ever get busted, it'll be probably a fight between me and Neil. Where I was like, and furthermore, just texted it all out. And if that ever gets it, because if I'm going to talk bad about somebody, I'm going to call him. I'm not saying,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm gonna get busted because I don't ever do that. I'm saying if I do, I will probably call or have that conversation face to face
Hmm.
because I don't want to risk getting busted.
Yeah.
Let the record show. I know it's wrong to talk bad about people.
Hmm. Yeah. No, we don't ever do that. No, I really try not to. But there's just times that embarrassing, probably more than anything, it's just embarrassing. Not bad, but embarrassing things. You didn't
Texts,
really
yeah,
text.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I think the one that in the text history, there was this spiel in there of me whining about my weight, and Neil always follows that up with, "You look great, baby. You look better than you did when we were dating."
mhm, just take it. So did we have this conversation? Like if you came across that pile of printed text, would you have read it?
I think we did have that conversation.
I can't remember what you said.
I can't either. What did I say? Did I give the right answer or was I honest?
Is there, it would be so hard not to.
No, if it's right.
I mean,
Well,
if
I
it
mean,
was,
at
if
some
it was,
point you would because you'd pick it up and go, "What is
yeah,
this? Who's this for?"
yeah. And you realize this is not for my eyes. And especially if it started going in a direction where,
Yeah.
that they would, no, I would put
If it
that
was
away.
the bland part of the text thread, I'd be like, "Oh,"
Yeah. How many
and
pages printed off?
I don't know. My first thought would probably be, "Why did they print this off?"
Yeah. All right. So
Uh,
don't talk bad
okay,
about people.
don't talk bad about people. Um, what would you do if you could never tell John you loved him and could only show him?
Uh, I would cook him tacos every day and write him love notes and hug him and um do
So
things
tacos,
for him.
tacos are his love language.
They are definitely his love language.
Hmm.
If he's ever in a funk, I can make tacos and it brings him right out. Yeah.
Oh,
It's so
that's
easy.
sweet.
Tacos are
That's so
easy.
sweet.
Yeah.
Oh. Hmm.
So what would you do if you couldn't say it?
Well, Neil's a words of affirmation guy.
But you can't, oh, so you can still talk to him. You just can't
Yeah,
say I love
I
you.
can I can compliment him and use my words to show that I greatly respect him and that will
Hmm.
fill his love tank tremendously. Like
Hmm.
that means more to him than anything.
Yeah. John's is too, and I'm terrible about doing that. I need help.
Yeah. Well, Neil's very good about words of affirmation to me.
Because that's his love language.
I've got the cynic in my brain going, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you, whatever.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. John, that's his love language. And I'm not, it embarrasses me
Mhm.
if he praises me. I mean, not really, really, but I don't know where to
Yeah.
look, what to do. So
I like for Neil to praise me in front of other people.
do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like it when John does
I
that.
try to look humble when he does it.
How do you look humble?
Just try to
Show
go,
me your humble face.
oh.
Oh,
I
this
probably look
episode is
like Barney
great.
Fife.
Yeah, the Barney Fife look.
The Barney sniff.
Nobody can do that like Neil.
All right, so you would make him tacos and hug him.
And words of affirmation. Yeah, that was a good
Words of
answer.
affirmation.
I didn't know you
Okay.
could talk.
Yeah, it said if you could never tell him you loved him.
Oh, okay. Didn't get that part.
Okay.
Okay. Next one. In my practical ones. Okay. Apparently, my mind was on my kids when I started writing these down because this one is okay, here's a scenario that happened. And I know the right answer. I know what you're going to say, but I just have to throw it out there because I think people probably experience this. When one of my boys was probably in like the 7th grade, he was invited to a party at a friend's house. It was like, I don't remember what kind of party it was, birthday party or something. And it was here in Drippin, and it was with other people that I knew. And I had met the parents. They were like baseball team parents. So I knew them on the surface, but not well.
Okay.
And so I got there to drop him off, and there's kids running all around the yard. And there's a big group of parents there too. And I think they were sitting in the yard. I don't think that I saw any drinking because I feel like if I had seen that, I would have immediately taken him back with me, but I didn't. It was like one of those situations where if I don't leave him here, I'm going to have to explain why not. Like it would be embarrassing for him if I said, I'm sorry, I can't leave him because this looks like an out of control place.
Mhm.
He was 13 years old. Um, but if I did leave him, I felt like, is this the best idea? And I did. I left him. Now, this was 20 years ago. So
Mhm.
things have changed a good bit since then, even though things went on back then that shouldn't have. So I've thought about that many, many times since then. Like, that was really dumb. That was really dumb to put him in that kind of a situation where, and they probably were drinking and I just didn't see it. Um, but to leave him in a situation where it didn't appear that anyone was supervising. So I have felt guilty about that for 20 years. So really, this is a therapy session here.
Oh, tell me about it.
I'm telling you. So, I mean, I know it would have been better just to say, leave the present. We need to go. I'm just not comfortable with this. But what would you have done? How would you handle that?
Well, you know what? As moms, I think sometimes we have to go with our gut, even when there's pressure there. Even if we're worried about fallout or our
Mm-hmm.
kids being upset or disappointed or whatever. And you had little alarm bells going off,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's been bothering you ever since. And I think sometimes those alarm bells are there for a reason. And
Yeah.
if we think that this probably isn't the best situation, and even if there's an expectation there, or this is what everybody else is doing, or whatever it might be, I think you have to listen to your gut because they're your children,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah,
don't want to be
absolutely.
you don't want to be hanging on to that for the next 20 years.
Like I have. I
Yeah.
talked to him afterwards, and I've talked to him since then over the years, and he said nothing happened. I mean, it wasn't
Mhm.
a bad situation, but I think it was probably a slumber party. And that was something that
Mm.
he wasn't going to stay. And I know a lot of people now don't allow their kids to do any sleepovers. And I get where they're coming from. It wasn't really, I know even 20 years ago, even when I was a kid, bad. I mean, I've talked about one. happen on Derek's sleepovers. Bad things can happen at any time anyway, but I wish I would have just said, why don't you go find Jeremy or whatever his name was? I don't remember. Give him his gift, and then let's go get some pizza or something. And then maybe just said to the parent, he can't stay after all. Sorry. I don't think you have to explain. I don't feel like this is a safe situation for my child. But I think what has really bothered me the most about it is that why would I pick embarrassment on their behalf over the safety of my child? And that's essentially what I did.
Yeah.
When I really thought about it.
You could have just said, we can't stay, but we wanted to stop by and give him this gift and wish him a happy birthday, and just handled it like that and just stayed for a couple minutes, you with them,
Right. Yeah.
and then left.
Yeah. Well, that kind of stuff is going on all the time. And that's just normal life, I think, for so many kids. Somebody might listen to this and think, what's the big deal? Why in the world would you be worried about that? Because I think that's just the norm out there among people who, I guess, live a different lifestyle, a different life, a non-Christian life. But I think mainly I brought that up just to encourage moms who are in the middle of that. Don't, like you said, alarm bells. I think I could call it intuition. You can feel when you feel like something doesn't feel right, pay attention to that and listen and act on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I thought of one.
Good.
Like playing how you're wanting to. So what would you do if somebody reprimanded your child or disciplined your child?
Discipline in what kind of way? Like just with words or actually did something?
Either one. Let's just say they had to come down pretty hard on your child. What would you do?
I think it would depend on who it was first. If it was somebody that had absolutely no right to do that, like somebody in the community. I remember one time Jordan was like 3 years old. He was little bitty. And we were at the post office and he was like pulling on the rope or something. And a man just jumped him for doing it. And ooh, that made me so mad. I was just spitting mad about that. Like, he's being a little boy. And I know we can be overly protective and mama bear, but I think that doesn't go over too well to me if they have no idea who my child is and my child doesn't know them. But if it's like, I didn't even like it when my dad did it, honestly. And he didn't do much of it, but I recognize that he did have authority over them and that, they probably needed whatever discipline or words, because dad never did discipline and mom, they just would maybe say things a time or two if things got too loud or something. But I think especially older, and if it's something that they did wrong, then I think they do need to listen and listen respectfully and apologize, regardless really of whether or not it was something that they were at fault. I'm sorry that. I think that's a good opportunity for them to practice apologies. But I think on the other hand, if you are the person that's doing that discipline, it's better if you have a relationship with that child of some sort, for them to not come away thinking that you're just an ogre. I don't know. Is that where you're going with that?
Well, I was just thinking about different situations where, I raised 3 boys, so it took more than me to get them in line. I can tell you that right now. And I was always grateful for people who cared enough if they saw them acting out of line to say something to them. And
well, you're better than me.
Well,
I was too much of a mama bear.
Most of the people that we, would have been had an opportunity to do that were people that I knew, and but I see what you're saying. There were a couple occasions, 3. I can think of 3 specific occasions where somebody was completely out of line, and how they handled something. To the point that it was, almost damaging.
Yeah.
And I went and, not in front of my kids, but I went and spoke to that person individually about the situation. But there was one time when it was a stranger, and we were in the mountains in Colorado, and there was this lake, and we were all looking in the lake, and the boys were picking up stones and tossing them in the lake, and this ranger came along and just blasted them. I mean, he was yelling, and he was talking about how they had just filled the lake, and they were going
Ruin the
to,
ecosystem. Huh?
yeah, kill the fish and blah blah blah. I mean, he was like yelling at them, and then he was like, just get back, just stay away from there, and then he walked off, and all three of the boys were just
Yeah.
stunned, and I was stunned. I could not believe it. And so he walked over to his little ranger truck, and I followed him, and I said, I just want you to know that my boys love this kind of stuff. They have great respect for men in your position and the work that you do. And I feel like you could have used that as a teaching opportunity and just explain to them instead of coming down on them and yelling at them. I feel like you were way out of line.
Good for you.
And he said, you're probably right. I'm sorry, ma'am. And I mean,
Well,
he
then
just
go tell
handled
the
it.
boys.
I know. So, but that, and the other two were just, I'm not even going to bring them up on here, but,
Yeah.
but typically I was just grateful for it because I can't keep my eyes on them all the time, as much as I want to. And I know that they're going to do things, or I knew that they would do things when I couldn't see them that they didn't need to be doing. And I think it takes a lot of courage for somebody to step in if they see somebody acting, especially if it, something that's going to get somebody else hurt or hurt somebody else's feelings or get them hurt, to actually step in there and say, boys,
Very true.
you don't need to be doing this, and would your mother want you doing this or something, to just say something to him about it. But
Yeah.
I was
I
just
think,
curious because that, we hear situations like that all the time
yeah.
with people getting their feelings hurt because somebody else reprimanded their child. And
That was probably me, and that was wrong of me because I was too much of a mama bear. But I think I see where you're coming from. And I think if someone did, and they did, come with a spirit of I care about you, they that did happen, and they would go to the boys, and I did appreciate that. Individually, especially, not necessarily like dragging them by the ear and coming, did you know what your kid did? That kind of thing just doesn't, I don't think that helps. It's just not
no,
helpful.
of course
But
not.
if they go and say, I saw this and I'm afraid it's going to hurt you, yeah, definitely I would appreciate that. It's embarrassing. I think that's probably where the mama bear stuff comes in. But I guess I know I was too much of a mama bear, even with our parents. Probably so much that it makes me not want to do any of that with our grandkids. I just want to be their grandmother. I don't want to discipline them. If we're alone, like if their parents are not there and we need to do that, we will. But I'm not going to do it when it's my kids. It's so hard to say, my kids' responsibility to raise their kids. But that's a tough one.
Yeah. And I handle it the same with other kids too. If their parents are there, I'm not going to say anything, but hopefully, I can't really think of too many scenarios, but hopefully if I saw somebody acting up or acting out, that was worth mentioning to that child.
And that's a big thing right
I'm not
there.
talking about ticky tack things. I'm not talking about being loud or running where you're not supposed to be running. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about something definitely needs to be handled. I hope that I would have the courage to go up to them and say something to them about it.
Yeah. Would you, if it was, say, like a teenager and you saw something that they were out in the town doing, you think it's better to go to them or to go to them with their parent? That's a tough one too.
I would probably just say something to him if I saw him.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it probably would depend on what it was, but I think I would too, just because it probably would be more effective for them to know that you respected them enough to go to them and not involve the parent. But then on the other hand, how would the parent feel about, how would I as a parent feel about that kind of, it just would, there's so many things that depends on the situation.
Yeah. Well, and I know too that wouldn't necessarily want every parent coming up to me and saying, just want you to know your son was
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah in the parking lot again. And I said something,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't appreciate that very much,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, thanks. Wish you just would have said something to him and not had to come tell me
Hmm.
about it,
Yeah. I guess I'm
But
thinking of if is that something I need to know about? Like, are you going to them about something that I need to know about? Man, it's just,
yeah, I think you have to use some wisdom in there.
yeah.
If it's something that you can just mention to that person,
Hmm.
do it. Just take care of it. I think with the individual, obviously there would be some exceptions if there's something going on that the parent needs to know about, and
Dangerous or,
yeah, and they
mhm.
don't, then
Yeah,
that wouldn't be fun. But I as a parent, I sure would appreciate that if somebody knew
right.
something about my child.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's hard to set aside that pride and that embarrassment for the greater good and the good that your kids
Mhm.
need. So good one. I don't know if
Thanks.
there's a
That's my one. Otherwise, it was
good
going to
ones.
be, what would you do if social media didn't exist? How would your life be different?
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's I think that's going to be my last one, but I do, unless you have another one you want to ask,
Nope,
not
that
the
was it.
social media one.
That
But I
was
do
mine.
have, I was going to do this at the beginning of the episode and I forgot, but now I want to ask you to answer these short answer questions. Put you on the spot. These are not what would you do? These are just short answers.
Okay.
Okay. If this is sort of a what would you do? If you're eating chips and salsa with someone and they double dip, would you keep eating?
All depends who it is. It does not bother me at all if it's good friends. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. I know
Yeah.
some people are weird about that. If it's my family, friends, it just doesn't bother me.
I didn't
I'm
even know what
like,
double dipping
I
was until
mean,
I was an adult, I think.
yeah, I'm careful about that with other people. If I want them to
Hmm.
try something here, I haven't used this fork yet, or I haven't touched this
Yeah.
part of my plate yet, but it doesn't bother me at all. I'll be like, can I try that?
Yeah.
But if it's somebody I don't know, that's a
Yeah.
big no.
Yeah. Okay. Someone who just sneezed and blew his nose and
Gross.
no thanks, I'm done. I think
Yeah.
that's enough for me. Okay. I think I know the answer to this. You can choose only one of these to eat for the rest of your life. Which is it? Pizza or bread?
Pizza.
That's what I figured you'd say.
Because you can make any kind of pizza you want. You
Mhm.
can put whatever you want on a pizza. So
I
whatever
mean,
you're in
it's
the mood
essentially
for,
bread.
it is. And you
If
can
you
go
want bread,
sweet or savory.
if you want bread, just don't put toppings on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crusty bread. Okay, in a zombie apocalypse, which one of us would live longer?
I'm gonna say, now wait, how does that work? What's a zombie's objective exactly?
To bite you?
I mean, why? Did they go after certain people? I don't know my zombie
Okay,
trivia.
you're
I've
just
never seen,
stalling. You're
well, I am
stalling.
because I don't know.
Which one of
At
us is
first, I
tougher?
thought about outrunning you. And then I thought, but wait, if they go after like smarter, brainier people, then you're dead. But I don't
No,
know. I've never watched Walking Dead or anything like that. So I don't
mm-mm.
really know how that works.
Their objective is if you move, they kill you.
Oh, so if you're fidgety,
I mean, if they detect that you're human,
oh,
then you're dead.
well, then you'll probably outlive me
Why?
because I don't even sit like when I'm sitting in church, I'm constantly, my foot's doing this the whole time.
I think that's a cheaty answer because you're supposed to tell me if you think you're tougher or I'm tougher. You
But
could
I'm an
outrun me.
overthinker, so I have to think about the variables.
You could definitely outrun me, so probably you would live longer. But they would
Okay.
catch up to you eventually and kill you too. So, okay, can you speak Pig Latin?
Yes.
Prove it.
Yay.
Okay. If I gave you $100, would you eat a worm,
No.
even if
Hundred
it's
dollars
deep
does
fried?
$100 does not go very far.
$1,000?
Nope. not eating any worms.
No worms.
No worms. I don't do,
Okay. All right. What celebrity would you possibly like to be friends with? You can throw in there author.
Carla Moore.
You're already friends with her, so pick another.
uh, um, I don't know. I can't think of anybody. Author. Maybe, maybe Sarah Sundin. I don't know. I don't know.
Does she write World War II fiction?
Yeah.
Okay. I have read some of hers.
Yeah.
Are there any conspiracy theories that you believe?
Yes. I'm not sharing them. I used to not, but now for sure.
Okay. You're gonna have to tell me later.
Okay.
Curious now. Okay. Should I ask you that one? No. I'll ask you that one privately. It's embarrassing.
Okay. I feel like I should say I'm horrible at this on the
Oh, you
spot
did
stuff.
good. You did well.
And later I'll be thinking, I wish I'd said that.
Okay, well, next week in the group, you can.
All right, let me see if there's any of these. No.
You can't embarrass me. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. I just thought it was some fun questions. I meant to do it on the front end of the podcast.
Yeah, I don't really have anything that fits.
Okay, good. Well, it's been
good.
Good. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been helpful, even though I'm not raising children anymore. But maybe somebody else who is in the middle of child rearing might find some of those helpful.
Well, and I think it would also reinforce the fact that you're going to make mistakes and question yourself and wonder if you're doing the right thing. And we all been there.
Yep. And I think that's going to keep going too.
Yes.
Probably
You
the
just
rest of our life.
do your best with what you know in the moment and put them in God's hands.
Yeah. Yep. But it was fun. I always enjoy talking to you. Do you have something good today this week?
I do. So I told you I went on this road trip, and Kelly Nix was talking about something that they do at Christmas time, which was the cutest idea. And I asked her if I could share it on here. Is this something good for you? They do what they call a ho-ho bag. When she first talked about it, I thought she said a hobo bag. So I was very intrigued. And when I asked her about it today, can I share your hobo bag idea? And she was like, it's ho-ho, like Santa Claus.
I'm picturing a bag full of Hostess ho-hos.
Yeah, well, even better.
Tied in a hobo knapsack.
So what they do is they start gathering things. I don't know how early they start, but it's useful stuff. That's what they call it, useful stuff. And they fill it with things like tarps, because who doesn't always need a good tarp? Utility knives, hot pads, spatulas, candy, zip ties, notepads, hand sanitizer, duct tape, chapstick, batteries, flashlights, tape measure, extension cords, band-aids, etc. And those things that you always need, but
you don't really want to spend the money on.
You don't really want to spend the money on it or go shopping for it, or you don't think about it until you need it, And so they fill a bag with these things. And I asked her how they distribute them, and she said they used to, when they get together with their family at the holidays, every now and then they would just pull one out of the bag and give it to somebody, but now they create a bag in the bag for each family. So every family gets a bag full of these things, and they pull out that family's, cool idea. Yeah, they pull out that family's bag out of their ho-ho bag. And she was telling me that now all the relatives expect it. And they'll say things like, I needed some duct tape, but I didn't buy it because I knew it'd probably be in the ho-ho bag.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really cute idea. And
you need to give Kelly my address.
Yeah, that's my something good for you via Kelly Nix.
A ho-ho bag. Great idea. I think everybody would enjoy that. True story here. My brother, a couple of months ago, we were talking about, they were getting ready to fly somewhere. And he and John got to talking about things that you see when you fly and people who are rowdy on planes. And John was talking about a time that a couple of guys got in a fight, and it was so dumb. It was so dumb, but they were like 3 rows ahead of us, and they were like jostling one another, and everybody behind us was ready to get off the plane. It'd been a long flight. And it was like the whole plane was saying, you guys knock it off and get off the plane. I mean, John was thinking, I'm going to have to get up there and do something about this. And he would be one of those that would do that. And Doug said, for that exact reason, he said, I carry zip ties, those giant zip ties everywhere whenever they travel, whenever they fly, he carries big
Wow.
zip ties because you never know when somebody, I mean, he's seen all those things
Wow.
on TV. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to
It's
mess
gonna
with
go.
some people. Yeah. But think about it. Zip ties that can immobilize somebody.
Yeah,
And if
true.
enough, I think enough people on planes now, we're not afraid anymore. We're going to get up and you're not going to mess. We're going to get where we're going and you're not going to mess with it. And we're going to put you in a zip tie. So
Yeah.
if my boy, I know my boys aren't listening, but the girls, if they are, don't tell the boys, but everybody's going to get zip ties. All the guys are going to get zip ties in their stockings this year. Because I thought that's a pretty good
When you
idea.
started that story, I was like, what does this have to do with the ho-ho bag?
Because you said zip ties when you said we're
Yeah, I
describing
figured
what's in
that
it.
out when you got to that point, but I was like, where are you going with this?
I eventually got there. That's me typically. I eventually get there. Okay, my something good. Something you introduced me to. These shower steamers. I mean, this is a different
Yes.
bag.
Mhm,
And I
mhm,
can't remember if I have mentioned these before on favorite things and stuff, but
mhm,
this popped up on Mommy Markdown
mhm,
as a one of those extra coupon. I think there's 16 of them. I think I got them for like $8. So these are eucalyptus and menthol. So if you are sick or you have a cold or congestion, whatever, you
mhm,
can toss this, just unwrap one and toss it in the bottom of your shower away from the water. So you don't have a stream of water on it. And it just gives you fumes, good fumes, the kind
mhm,
that help clear your sinuses. But most of them are not just to clear your sinuses, they're just to smell good. And it's just kind of
mhm,
like a little spa in your shower.
mhm.
So those are, I had never seen them before. You sent some to me a year or
Oh
two
yeah.
ago,
We
and I love them.
if you shower in the morning, you can get the energizing ones like citrus or peppermint, and if you shower at night, you can get the
Lavender.
calming ones like
Mhm.
lavender. I've made them
Yeah.
before.
Oh, well, why does that not surprise me? Mother Nature over there.
Yeah, even Dale loves shower steamers, so we
Hmm.
try to remember to get some to tuck in their stockings at
Yeah.
Christmas time. But
Yeah. Well, I'm
speaking
sure.
of Mommy Markdown, you probably seen her comment, but in case you haven't, because I just discovered this myself recently. When you click on comments to see what she shares in the links,
Mhm.
make sure you change it because you'll only see relevant comments. Make sure you change that to all comments, or you will only see some of what she is
Mhm.
sharing. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that until very recently and actually read what she posted. And I was
It's
like,
probably a good thing when I
oh,
don't see it all because,
yeah, I'm missing out on these things. So I
yeah.
always go and put all comments, and then you can see everything that she's been sharing.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a little too easy to use that Mommy
Mhm.
Markdown, but good Christmas ideas.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
No, this
All
was
right.
fun.
It's been
Sorry
lots of fun.
I didn't play right, but I
You just
enjoyed
played a
it.
different game. We had two different games going on.
We like variety.
Yeah. Spice of life and all that.
That's right.
All right. It's been fun. Love you. And we will talk again soon. Thank you for everyone who's joined us and stuck with us this long. And until next time,
Keep looking up.
all right, I'll see you later.
Bye.